Ensign Velixpran is budding. If you ask Odo what his name means, he'll say, nothing. And is this the biggest turning point in a character's arc ever? Hey, everybody, and welcome to The Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
And, of course, we've got Miss Malissa Longo. How are you today?
Hello, I'm all right.
Awesome.
How are
You seem
you?
so suspicious right now.
We're waiting for you to break out another old school song on
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I'm just waiting to hear who let the Nogs out.
Nice. I like it very much. That was great. This is a very special Nog episode in my estimation. I think you guys may agree that this may be, I mean, to me, like what I just said there, like I feel like this might be the biggest turning point in any Star Trek character's arc in the history of Star Trek, right? This very episode. Anyway, season 3, episode 14, called Heart of Stone, Deep Space Nine, directed by Alexander Singer, written by Ira Stephen Bear and Robert Hewitt Wolf. Wow, let's get into it, shall we?
This is one of the best episodes that I've seen. It's up there with just the best episodes. There's a few of them that stand out that are better than the what I like to call the filler episodes that just kind of fill the space. But these are the episodes that I don't know about you guys, but I was actually like literally moved to tears at some point watching this episode where like I couldn't even hold it back. And my mom's like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "Nothing, nothing. Just watching Deep Space Nine." She said, "Deep Space Nine is making you cry?" I'm like, "Yes, it is making me cry."
Like I got some Nog in my eyes.
Yeah, and it was a good thing. I thought that this was really a great performance, and the storytelling was excellent in this particular one, both A-line story and the B-line. So that's what made it extremely special for me.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
So we do have a lot to talk about. First, real quick, everybody, if you are enjoying this video, be sure to subscribe to it on YouTube or on iTunes, and be sure to go to our Patreon, patreon.com/the7th-rule, and consider becoming our buddy.
Yeah, it's great because you see like it's one small step for Nog, but it's a giant leap for the Ferengi.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what I feel like watching this episode. I feel like he's taking the whole species on his back and saying, I'm going to up the bar. I'm going to be about something different. I'm going to change the culture. And I'm going to be better than quote unquote than my father. I'm going to achieve more than him.
But then at the end, he did say like father, like son.
Well, they both, yeah.
Yeah, but I also think that Nog's actions inspired his father to be a bit courageous by standing up to Quark. So, father, like son. You just needed a little extra
nudge.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought that reference was to the fact that an earlier line where Nog says, "My dad could have been the chief of, chief of operations like O'Brien, chief of engineering," because his dad does know how to do a lot of things. He's always fixing things that we've seen up to this point. He's fixing things, he's breaking into things, he knows how to he knows a lot about the engineering aspect of the science. So, and clearly he's taught his son how to do the same. So I think he's just saying in that regard, like father, like son, like, I have the same skills as you, Dad, but we're gonna take it to another level. We're going to take it a step farther. We're going to take it to a place where it hasn't been before. And we're not going to worry about trying to chase profit because that's not what it's all about.
Yeah. Speaking of which, we did have a rule of acquisition today, right? What was it? Number 18? Yeah. A Ferengi without profit is no Ferengi at all. Yeah. So, Cirroc, I'm glad you brought up the situation with Rom and Nog, because just something I realized at the end, towards the end of the episode, and it kind of really encompasses the whole episode. I feel like Deep Space Nine as a whole made a huge right turn in this episode, because it kind of redefined like 4 characters or 4 situations in one episode. Like Nog goes from being some rascally kid to, he takes a hard right turn, says, I'm a grown-up now, I want to become a Starfleet officer. Total different situation. Then you have Odo finally admitting that he's in love with Kira, flat out saying it. Then we find out more about Rom there before they kind of showed it, but Nog directly says it. He's a mechanical genius. Mm-hmm. He could be the chief engineer of a starship. Then we also find out that the female changeling is willing to do almost whatever it takes to learn about Odo. And why? Because she says, so that you'll come home and come back to us. So in one episode, it feels like Deep Space Nine took a complete hard right turn and almost kind of took that first step towards reinventing the series. And I think that coincides with when Ira takes over as the showrunner.
Yes, and there were other ancillary characters that I feel like also had some growth, including Sisko, who originally was against the Jake-Nog friendship, and then we saw in a couple of episodes back where he says, I was wrong, that you guys should have been friends and you proved me wrong. But now, instead of it just being a Jake-Nog friendship, now we actually see Sisko extending himself into the realm of generosity and mentor and friendship and guidance. And I feel like that's also an important step for Sisko, because he is now accepting things that he was reluctant to accept. And we see his growth. We see him maturing and learning to accept the differences.
Look, he's actually smiling in that picture. I didn't notice that before until I lightened the picture to put it in my background. I'm like, look, he's actually proud of Nog. And look at Nog. Look at these two.
I thought it was extremely beautiful.
That's great.
Yeah. And, the other thing is how we see this thing kind of evolve. I like the way it starts with him kind of throwing the bag of money on his table. Like, yeah, I want to join Starfleet. Who do I have to see about getting my, my suit here, my outfit? Yeah. Who do I got to see about getting a uniform? What's up? Hurry it up.
Well, and I thought it was cute when he was like, I'm an adult.
Yes.
And Sisko is like, congratulations. What's that got to do with me?
Yeah.
But yes, there's a lot of growth.
Yeah, and then even the way he demands him to write the letter. Okay, then you'll write the letter. All right, great.
He just assumed he would, because it seemed like, I mean, of course he said it the way a Ferengi would, or the way Nog would, or the way the impetuousness of youth would. But the truth is, we all would expect that. We go, oh, I want to come into Starfleet. He said, well, you need a ranking officer, commanding officer to give you the letter. Okay, great. Will you do that? And he wouldn't think for a second that Sisko would be like, well, I don't know if I want to put my reputation behind you. I know just last week I told my son I was glad he's your friend, but that's another step forward if I'm actually, vouching for you,
Well, and that's a huge testament to Sisko's character, because he didn't write Nog off right away. He gave him a chance to prove himself.
And that was a great way to do it. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I like that. I like the way that they use Dax as an intermediary between that kind of, assigning him the responsibilities. Okay, this is what you have to do. I like the way Sisko stood up for Nog when he was talking to Dax. Dax was like, are you serious? Like, and he's like, no, I need you to make sure that he's not interrupted and that there's nobody looking over his shoulder. And he needs a fair chance. So, I wanted you to make sure that he gets that. So he stood up for him in that particular instance. But the real like transition for me with Nog, and what made me just, you know, was just moving for me emotionally, was, you know, the tact, the approach. So he comes off in the beginning like more Ferengi, like, all right, I'm going to do a deal. Here's a bag of money. Don't worry about it. Consider it a gift. And it's more of a transaction for him in this Ferengi kind of business transaction. And Sisko, throughout this episode, which I thought was, this is one of the things that I liked about it, was he was trying to make him explain why he wanted to do it, and touch that nerve of, you know, the real reasoning and the emotion behind it, not just, you know, as a business transaction, but, you know, what's your reason? And I felt like that scene is really what opened it up, was when Nog says, I don't want to be like my dad.
Right.
And that really was when I started to get really, you know, emotional, because there's a lot of people out there that feel that way. And, you know, and it's a touchy situation to have to share with somebody that, you know, that you want something different for your own life. Mm-hmm. And that really is the part that we face when we're growing up and you're facing adulthood. Mm-hmm. You're no longer being shepherded by your parents into a certain direction. You start to take responsibility for the choices you're going to make, and focus on the direction that you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Taking ownership of your life.
Mm-hmm.
He is an adult now.
And they did demonstrate well, you know, and that's why we saw it coming, was because we saw the situation that was going on with Quark and Rom, and Quark telling him, you know, it's in your contract that everything that goes wrong is your fault, you know.
Yeah, I love that line.
Which is hilarious.
Everything is your fault.
But at the same time, you see an 18-year-old kid watching his dad kind of grovel and snivel to his own brother. He's probably thinking like, maybe I don't want to be like that, you know. Maybe I don't want to be, you know, in a bar. It's, you know, first he just said it was that they don't have the lobes, they don't have the business sense for it, and he doesn't have the lobes either. Which I don't know. It seems like he does. But more than that, I think it was just that he didn't like the way his dad is getting pushed around, you know, and he sees Starfleet officers as people that don't get pushed around, you know.
Yeah, I think so. I would disagree, like you said, about him not having the lobes to make money. I'm pretty sure he has the ability to be a hustler and make money. That's what the whole
yeah.
Self-Six Examples was about. We've tried. So he has the, you know, the Akrama to be able to get into that, but that's not really where his heart is. And, you know, I think he actually has a love for engineering, for science, for, you know, technology, or for, you know, taking things apart. And that's where his real passion lies. So I think that's just an identity thing for him. And like you said, the main thing is that his father's being treated like crap, and he's sitting there watching him, you know, not have any backbone.
Right. That was
and not speak up for himself. And
Cirroc, you're cutting out a little bit there. Maybe check to see if you've got some apps open or something like that. But we heard what you were saying, and it does seem like more than just the lobes and the business sense, because he does seem like he's got that just fine. It's that he just doesn't want to be like his dad. He doesn't like the way his dad lets himself be treated, and he looks at the Starfleet officers around the station and he's like, that's a role model. That's something I want to be like.
I think he looks at Sisko and says, that's what I want. He sees Jake and his father together, probably. And even in the season finale of episode 2, you could kind of see him being like, oh, this is Commander Sisko. This is Commander Sisko. You know? And he was embarrassed by his uncle and his uncle's behavior. So I think that that Nog, from a little bit earlier on, was seeing Sisko as a potential mentor. So.
Right. So do you think that Jake sees Rom as a mentor?
No. I don't think Jake thinks of it that way. And I think Nog loves his father very much, and he doesn't want to be a doormat. So, he's looking elsewhere. Where can he thrive? Where is he going to have the best chance at life?
Right. And he might end up wanting to be somewhat of a mentor or an inspiration to his own dad.
Right. Without even realizing it, but he kind of is too.
Yeah, he definitely will be. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, guys, I lost my Wi-Fi signal.
No problem. We were talking about Rom and Nog and, the dynamic there. And Malissa doesn't think that Jake views Rom as a mentor as much as Nog views Sisko as a mentor.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly Sisko is in a leadership position, and he has a lot of responsibility, and people look up to him. So, that would be somebody that you would more than likely try to emulate or be like. But I do think that Rom shows a lot of character in this episode too. I think that
Right.
there's a moment where he steps up to the plate and he's like, he tells Quark, he says, you make all the decisions about the bar, but I make decisions when it comes to my son, And I thought that was another important kind of stepping up to the plate for Rom, asserting himself. Yeah.
Well, leave it to Star Trek to always have redeeming qualities for characters. They very rarely just have some one-dimensional character that has no redeeming qualities and just sucks. They always are going to get their moment to shine, whether it's to show what they're good at, or for them to turn around and get a backbone, or to turn around and do the right thing. Whatever it is, Star Trek doesn't like to leave, open holes like that. They like to kind of close everything up, give somebody some growth, give somebody some good qualities, especially Deep Space Nine does that really well. Next Gen, really they all do. I can't think of any. The newer ones are a different style of writing, so we'll see. I think that's more of we'll have to look back on it from the entire series, but definitely the other Star Trek series always had that.
Yeah, I feel like this episode in particular, and there are several others, and I am playing favorites, but
You're allowed.
Sets Deep Space Nine apart from the others, because this episode, for example, has real, true meat and potatoes. There's real substance in this episode, and everyone involved in putting this story out there and telling this story was on the money. They hit it out of the park, and I love this episode, and it brought a tear to my eye too. Just yeah.
I agree. I would, and the thing is, for Nog, at least from his point of view, he doesn't want to be seen as a joke, and I think that's one of the things that offended him when Jake comes in there and says,
right.
"Yeah, it was real funny. I heard about what you did with my dad."
And then even after that, when he tries to convince you, saying, "Well, no, it wasn't a joke," you kind of come back and you said something like, "Well, my dad's a smart guy. If you are planning some kind of scheme, he's going to figure it out." He's like, "Okay, man, right. I'm telling you."
Right, and
Not
that's
kind of
that was the thing. He wants to be taken seriously, and I'm not a joke. It's not a joke, and this is not a scheme. And I think Sisko later on brought up the scheme. Like, if you're up to a scheme, at the end, he kind of was questioning whether he was going to let him do it or not. And he said, if this is part of some scheme, and that the word scheme set him off again, like, no, this is not a scheme. This is real. And then he actually said something else, that this is another thing brought tears to my eyes when I heard him say this, is I want to do something with my life. I want to do something worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was just like, it's funny because when I watch, it's hard to separate Aaron and Nog. So
right.
They're both kind of intertwined to me. And when he said that, I was thinking, you did do something with your life worthwhile.
Yeah.
Both
of them. Yeah.
Both of them. The actor and the character. But I just think that it was kind of emotional for me to have him say that. Also, when he says, "I don't want to end up like my father," those words kind of like, they resonate. And there's a lot of people that grow up in single parent households, and a lot of those single parents use that kind of language to make people feel bad about themselves. So they'll say, "You're just like your father," or "You're going to grow up and be just like your father," or vice versa, your mother. And those kinds of words coming, if a child hears those, it hurts them because it's said in a bad way, and they are part of their father and they are part of their mother. And when you say that you're going to grow up and be just like your father, it's like, it could really tear at somebody and become like an emotional kind of thing that you have to deal with. Clearly, Nog is dealing with that kind of emotion in this episode.
So we got to go to our break in just a second here. Before we do, oh, by the way, everybody, if we seem a little low energy today, it's because in California here, we had some earthquakes waking us up at 4 in the morning. So
yeah,
maybe that's what it is. I got 2 hours of sleep. Melissa said she went right back to sleep, no problem. Cirroc's like, I got 15 hours of sleep.
No, I didn't.
And anyway, but we know what we're getting into. Also, very quickly, 2 super quick shout outs to some very important people, Mr. Rex A. Wood and Dennis Koch. That's our 2 associate producers that have been with us the longest. And we're just kind of looking over IMDb and noticing just how long they've been with us and how much they've helped us. So huge shout out to Rex A. Wood and Dennis Koch.
Thank you very much.
So we're going to take our quick break. We will come right back on the 7th Rule, home of the earthquakes. Hey everybody, we're back with a very special 7th Rule episode with Cirroc Lofton, Malissa Longo. My name's Ryan T. Husk, and this is such a cool episode. It's so fun to talk about. It's so fun to think about. And when we were coming up on this episode, it was kind of exciting, at least for me. So real quick, here are the trivioids that didn't make it at the beginning of the episode. Odo's meeting with Security Chief Baum went fine. We need to talk about that a little bit too. A Leseptian supply ship is attacked by a Maquis interceptor. Not interesting at all. The Maquis use Peregrine-class courier ships. These are obvious why they didn't make it. Nog bribes Sisko, kinda. Kira gets a cool new ankle bracelet that froze.
Oh yeah,
kills her kind of. A Maquis guy does his best stormtrooper impression, because he missed her from like point blank range. Yeesh, tough crowd.
That's a hard one.
Oh, here's a good one. O'Brien is building whatever that guy's name, a hatchling pond.
Pod?
Pond. Yeah.
I
okay.
thought it was pods, but
so here's a long one. A band of Nausicaan raiders broke into the Remel 6 Central Museum by using a high-frequency ultrasonic generator to create a sympathetic vibration inside the crystalline webbing and shatter it. Who didn't feel sorry for Odo when he was saying all that mess?
Yeah, it's so funny you say that because there was a line that I'm pretty sure he messed up and that it still made it to the final cut.
No way.
Yeah, because while he's going through all this stuff, like you just said, all this techno stuff.
I feel like it
there's
may have been the
one-
line after that.
It was in the beginning. It was like the first scene, and he says, "There's some. I think his attitude stabilizer has failed." And I rewound it a few times, and he says attitude stabilizer.
Well, that's a thing. That's like a flying thing. There's like altitude and attitude.
Okay, so then I'm wrong.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm guessing, but that is a thing. That's a thing I've heard.
Okay, I thought
I
it was
don't know
altitude.
for sure.
I wouldn't
Yeah,
be
so
able to say one way or the other.
Yeah, there's altitude
know.
and attitude.
His attitude stabilizer? I was like, I know a few people that need an attitude stabilizer.
Stabilizer, yeah.
No, a lot of people's stabilizer has failed.
Well, let me finish these real quick because there's so many good things to talk about now. Chief and Odo have plans to go kayaking in the holosuite, which is kind of fun to think about. O'Brien loves to sing Louie Louie, and Odo Ital means nothing in Cardassian. A lot of stuff in there, a lot of goodies.
And this A story, which was the A storyline, and I thought it was good. I mean, outside of like the technical stuff, which
I know.
every time I hear it, I'm just like, okay.
I just feel sorry for Ira and Robert when we have those things. We know because now we know the behind the scenes truth is they're like us. They want the story, and this is just the stuff that they have to put in there, to get through it.
Yes, and some of it it's very difficult. You can see Odo. There was a few times where I was just like, oh God, I feel bad for him. He's got to say all this stuff.
How did he do it, man?
Well, I'm sure some of it was, you always put little hints there. Sometimes when you have a block, you might take like one paragraph somewhere on the console. So as you're pressing buttons, you can actually refresh your memory.
Did you ever? When was the time that you did that?
I can't remember, but I know that I have. So I'm not going to say that I haven't cheated a little bit. It's always when there's there's a mental block sometimes with these words, and most of the time it's because you don't know what you're saying.
Right.
If you give me some lines and I know what I'm talking about, then I'm going to get it right because it makes sense to me. This is what the character would say. But when you're going into the abstract of this like heavy science, and you don't know what the molecular stabilizer, decor, fragmentation, polarization field, you don't know what you're saying, but you're saying it as if you know. And that creates those kind of mental blocks. And sometimes you just need little hints. So you'll just have like that one word that's just, that one couple of words taped right in front of you on the console or on your iPad, your little stylus thing. So
stylus.
Yeah, so there were different ways to get around it, but I thought they had some really good scenes. I thought that Kira and Odo had some amazing scenes as well. Particularly Kira. I mean, there was one time when she was crying where I was just like, oh my God, she is killing it.
It almost... Go ahead, Melissa.
No, I was just thinking that, the technobabble, I believed him every single time that he said something. And I believed that he knew what he was talking about. But also what you were going to say, Ryan, is they both killed it. They killed it. I love watching those two play off each other because you're going to get good stuff.
The last bit about that technobabble, I've definitely done that before where I write my lines down on something but I look for things where it's like I'm reading out of a book. I'm like, well, if I'm reading out of a book, I could technically actually read out of the book, right? Or if you're like taking notes on something, you're like, and you're reading, So I'm sure you had those kind of opportunities, Cirroc. But what I was going to say with Kira is that it's really too bad that what I was noticing before I remembered what the twist was I was like, wow, Kira is really opening up to Odo. And I don't necessarily mean like at the end where she says, I love you too, but just in the way she spoke with him with a smile. like normally she's just like, it's this, or I'm going to die. You would think that she's going to say, I'm going to die here unless we figure it out. Militant, straightforward, but she was saying it with a smile. She's like, I'm going to die here, and I'm okay with it. There was, and I was like, wow, she's really come a long way as a character to where now she's willing to open up to Odo as a friend. She's willing to open up to Sisko a little bit as a friend. Everybody else, she's still, even with Dax, they're friends, but she doesn't smile as much. But then it's such a tragedy now, because now we go, oh, well, that wasn't even her anyway. So we didn't get that forward progress in the character that we thought that we had, not just the I love you stuff, but just in the way that she was talking with her friend.
Well, and I do think that they established that they had that kind of friendship at the very beginning, where Odo was like, well, you didn't ask me if I wanted to go to dinner. Oh
my God, that was the best scene ever. I was like, what is going on, Odo?
Yeah. He was getting in his feelings for not being invited. She's like, you don't even eat. What are you talking about?
That was a new character called Sad Odo.
Yeah.
Howdy, Odo.
But he wouldn't have said that or been that way with anyone else but Kira.
Right.
And those two have that kind of friendship where they could have this conversation of, well, I would have liked to have been consulted before you said no. And then Kira's like, well, next time I'll let you be the one to say no.
And she was kind of relieved when she found out what it was. She's like, okay, Odo.
Right.
Okay, I get it.
Right.
Yeah. The other thing is that, Kira's like the only character, at least that I can see so far, that has been able to play different versions of herself in the same show. So she's the mirror universe Kira. She's the fake version Kira, which is the founder's version Kira. And in all of these versions, she does do it a little bit differently. She is a little bit different. You just pointed out how, the conversations were a little bit different, and she was, opening up to Odo in a different type of way. And so even though it's the same actress, she's playing herself differently, as the mirror universe Kira, as regular Kira, and then as these other variation incarnations of herself. And I just think that's just like another amazing gift that she has, that she's able to play her own character slightly different, and just get away with it. It's like, wow, this girl's amazing. I mean, when she was crying in that scene, and her tears were running down her face, and I was just, that was another moving, emotional type of moment where you're like, wow, she's getting to me right now. And I could also feel the constraint of that thing kind of closing in her.
Yeah. The way it affected her voice and the way she spoke and the way she breathed. It
was like she was being restricted, and like I could actually feel the pressure coming down, and she couldn't inhale as deeply, and her voice was altering. Her hand was caught up inside of it, his hand wouldn't even move. And she just really played that to I wrote down Nana's performance. Nana's performance was marvelous, especially this where she's ordering him to leave. Like, that's an order right now. I'm telling you to get the hell out of here, and there's nothing you can do for me.
Well, and then the shift was like that, when Odo figured out that she's not really Kira. And her whole face and her posture changes, and it's like, holy crap, that's amazing. That's great. Yes. She is a different person now. Yeah, she's great at that.
And I really like the line. I know you want to throw something in here, Ryan, but I just want to say I love this line where Odo says, "I no longer think of myself as nothing. I think of myself as me."
Yeah.
And I was, these were both moments, I guess, character self-realization moments you know, for Odo and for Nog, kind of both realizing what they're made out of and what this is about or what's important to them, you know, and these are like defining moments for these characters.
You know, and there was another little part to that moment was he said, when you or the others call my name, I no longer think of myself as nothing. Because he was like, before when people say Odo, he just thinks, oh, they're calling the nobody, they're calling the nothing. But the way the you know, Kira and the Starfleet officers, even Quark, as he said, when they call his name, he doesn't think that they're calling out to nothing. He thinks they're calling out to him. And yeah, that was really cool. You know, great moment, very touching. And there was a moment though, a little earlier that cracked me up when Odo was like, you know, do you read the reports on the criminal activity or whatever exactly, the security briefings? And she's like, no. And then when he tells her all about it, she's like, oh, well, I'll be sure to read these security briefings a little bit more. And he got a little flirty. He's like, I'll make sure you get them or something like that. I got to find the exact thing he said.
Yeah,
it's like, oh no, you're so naughty.
Yeah, he did.
I didn't get that.
That's what he says.
He
goes, I'll make sure you get them.
Yeah. I thought he got a little, you know, oh, you're interested in the criminal activities report? I'll make sure you get them. You know, so that it gives them an excuse to spend more time together.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
You know, what I thought was interesting about his particular dilemma in this episode, which is, you know, him wrestling with his own identity and you know, even his name translating into nothing. So he's always felt like nothing almost, you know, or something that's been objectified. Mm-hmm. He goes really into detail about Starfleet being the thing that makes him have a sense of purpose and value, right? Because the people he mentions when he talks about, you know, I no longer think of myself as nothing, I think of myself as me. Those people are the Starfleet people, right? Sisko
and Kira.
Even Quark.
She's not technically Starfleet, but it's that same community of people working together that makes him feel important, right? O'Brien and all these people. So, and it's the same thing that Nog is looking for.
Right.
Right. He's looking for Starfleet to fill that same void of giving him purpose or making him feel, you know, needed or wanted or appreciated, you know, to give him that sense of identity.
Yeah, and he's looking to be a part of that kind of community. There is a sense of community on Deep Space Nine, and everyone has their purpose and their place in this space station. And Nog is looking for that for himself, carving his own path. And I think it's pretty incredible because he is essentially changing the evolution of the species of Ferengi just by joining Starfleet. And that's huge. That's huge. He's letting go of the old ways. And yeah, it's going to take a lot of time before they get there, but he's the one who initiates that, and then Rom becomes Nagus and starts a union. But that's, you haven't gotten there yet.
But, you know what? Spoiler alert. No, I really like the also the looks on his face when Nog was given the task of inventorying that whole room. Mm-hmm. He was like so excited, like like, okay,
I get to prove myself.
Yeah, I get to prove myself. Yeah, and then he even like he's like he'll have it by tonight. You know,
yeah.
Like, I know it's due tomorrow, but I'll get it done tonight. Like I'm gonna show you I'm even better than what you think I am. You know, and I love that I love that optimism in his spirit. It was so like, oh wow, this is my chance. and I'm going to blow these people away. I'm going to be the best I can be. And, you know, I just thought that spirit was amazing. Now, to contrast that, I thought that once the founder, this woman that plays the female founder, once she changed back from Nana to, from Kira to her original founder form, she really stings Odo with like a line just before she leaves. Something to the effect of, she'll never love you.
Yeah.
You know, you're a changeling.
And Odo's probably thinking, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was so, like, that was just so low.
I know. I wanted to scream at her. I'm like, yes, you will.
Yes,
she will.
Yes,
spoilers. Maybe
yeah, but it was
she
such
will.
a low blow. It was such a low
know,
blow.
but I don't like it when people say definitive things like that. How do you know she will or not? You don't know Kira. Not really. And if Odo thinks this much of her, there's got to be something in Kira that would say, oh yeah, I could love Odo. There's no reason not to.
I could love 180 pounds of goo. What's the big deal?
It's sentient goo.
That's right.
Yeah, and just the fact that people do that all the time, they like to limit you and say, oh, you'll never be anything because you're black, or because you're a woman, or because you're this, or because you're that, or because you're handicapped, or because you're this.
You're a Ferengi.
Right. Yeah, and that's something that we can we use as motivation to disprove, right? It's like, oh yeah, okay, I'll show you. Some of us, and then some of us don't, and there are people that are impacted by those words that limit your abilities in life and tell you that you can't do something, and there are people that are stigmatized by that, and they actually are inhibited by that sentiment and those people's words. So we have to look at it from both sides, you know.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was so mean for her to say that, you know, she'll never love you, bro.
Bro.
And then it was kind of cute at the end when Odo says to Kira, he's like, yeah, she said something that I knew you would never say. And Kira's like, yeah, what was it? And he's like, oh, well, it wasn't that big. I don't want to
slip of the tongue. Yeah.
Slip of the tongue.
Yeah.
Yeah, he could have just said like, oh, her story didn't add up, you know, but they wanted to put that line in to show that he's not ready to tell her, you know, because at this point he's already been burned now by Kira. He professed his love. Finally, she professed it back. Oh, turned out it wasn't really her. Oh, turned out the female changeling's also pooping on his head about it, saying, what, you idiot. How could you fall for this? She'll never love you. That's like Gollum. You don't have any friends, you know, for the Lord of the Rings guys. So now he's like, you know, once bitten, twice shy. She's like, oh, what was it? He's like, never mind.
And yeah, I mean, I think it's too soon to broach the subject, but I also think it's a testament to their relationship that he can tell when she's lying to him. And so when the female shapeshifter was telling Odo that she loved him, Kira loved him, he's like, no, this doesn't add up. Something's not right here. You like me, yeah, but love? I've not seen that before. So that says a lot about their relationship, their friendship as a whole, is that they're close enough that he would know when she's lying.
Do you think that he acted all fussy on their flight back like he was at the beginning of the episode, where she's like, so how, you know, what happened while I was
nothing
stasis?
I don't want to talk
He's
about
like
it.
Oh, you know what you did. Whatever.
He was probably regenerating.
Yeah. You know, one little nitpick though that I had, one little nerdy nitpick, speaking of that scene, is that where was it? Oh, when Odo was saying he could tell when Kira lies, he says, I pride myself on observing human nature.
Yeah.
But she's a Bajoran.
Oh.
No big deal. But I was like,
Yeah.
maybe you want to say like, I pride myself on observing solid kind, not
Humanoid.
or humanoid nature or something. Anyway, I was like, Odo, you know better than that. She's a Bajoran.
I was waiting for him to
Rider?
liquefy himself and go inside the crystal. That would be my.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. Why doesn't he just turn into goop, go inside the crystal, and like burst out of it like a superhuman changeling?
So you thought that too.
But admittedly, he's not a very good changeling. He's not a very proficient shapeshifter, not like the female shapeshifter. Mm-hmm. So I don't think he would have thought that was an option. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was kind of weird that they were chasing one guy in these little caves. That was a little.
Yeah, it was.
It was kind of like, all right, there's a guy in these caves. We're gonna find him. I'm like, all right.
Really? Oh, you just missed him. He was you didn't hear him? He was totally here. I saw him, but he ran away. He's gone. Yeah, maybe I should hunt him. No. He's gone.
No, he's gone. But yeah, there was a lot in this episode. I still think it's one of the better episodes that we've seen. And I think that Aaron gave a fantastic performance in this one. Mm-hmm. I'm sure he was reading the script and seeing, oh my God, this is my episode. I got all the lines in this one. Like, I'm a focal point. And he had a lot to say. He
loved working with Avery. And there was a moment when Sisko grabs Nog, and he's like, tell me why you want to join Starfleet. And they had rehearsed it before, and he had never grabbed him before. Oh. And when they, were filming it, he grabbed him. He was like, oh my gosh. And that really put him in the moment, more so than it had before. And he was like, oh, it was one of the best moments filming that I've had. And he's like, Avery is always so present with you when you're filming. So he really enjoyed those scenes.
That was a great decision by a master actor.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think Aaron held his own. He did a great job.
Yeah.
He had to drive a lot of that scene with his own, this is about him and his ambition. So,
Oh, yeah.
He had to drive a lot of that. And I thought that he was just fantastic. He showed the joy and immense happiness when he was, finally accepted and finally was about to get the opportunity. You could see in that face, in that picture behind you, Ryan. Mm-hmm. It was like pure joy for him.
That's perfect, right? I love it.
Yeah.
It's just perfect. It encapsulated his feeling. And the other thing is, the moment, although it was subtle and short, but it was short and sweet, and that's the
like
ramen.
Nog.
Yeah, the ramen Nog moment at the end, where he, it was weird because he gives his dad a handshake. I think he puts his hand out, and there were a few times in this episode where Nog puts his hand out for a handshake. Right?
I love it.
So, first is in Sisko's quarters when he throws the money there, and he's like. It's almost like, do we have a deal?
He's well, and it's almost like he's been doing his homework. This is a human custom, so I'm going to shake hands.
Yeah.
And he makes the point of doing it. It's so cute.
And then Sisko makes a point of not shaking his hand a few times.
Right.
All right.
Wait a second.
It comes on my face. So.
What's your game here, Ferengi?
What are you up to? Yeah. What am I signing up for every time I shake your hand?
So we've got just a couple minutes left. What did you guys think, by the way, of? Did you start singing along when you heard that O'Brien loves to sing Louie Louie?
I laughed so hard. I was like,
cut to the scene of them capsizing in the canoe. That's what I wanted to see. The kayak
cutaway. Yeah, you know, and little known fact, or probably very known fact, Louie and Wild Thing have the same chord progression and the exact same tempo. Something I learned when I first started playing guitar. I was like, wait a second, this is the same in song. Anyway.
How does Louie go?
Louie, down, down. Oh, baby. Me
There
gotta
it
go. And then Wild Thing. We all know that one.
Yeah.
Well, and that was great character development for O'Brien too,
Yes.
because we got to know a little more about him without him actually being there.
Was he even in that episode? Was that a NAM for O'Brien?
No, Brian was he in there?
I feel like he was in a scene
I feel like I saw him in a scene too.
at the beginning.
So.
Anyway.
I thought I saw him in a scene. Yeah, I thought I did.
Right.
Yes,
O'Brien tells Sisko that Nog wants to see him.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Hey, so real quick before we run, Cirroc, what do you think the rating was for this episode on IMDb?
I say it was about the 7.8 to 8.
What about you, Malissa?
Oh no, 8.6.
Now when you guys say this, I'm just thinking about earthquakes. I'm like, oh, that sounds like an earthquake. 7.4.
Really?
I think this is one where people would, if they revisited it, they would give it a higher mark. If they came back and they looked there and said, wow, I only gave it a 7, it's higher than that, you know, upon like.
Oh, it's a much better episode than a 7.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, The Heart of Stone, just to really quickly, the title of it. I know that they're referring to Nog, right? Is that what it is about? Or is
That's
it about...
what I always assumed, but it could also be Kira or Odo too.
Yeah, I think it can be more than Nog.
They do like to do that, the Star Trek writers. They do like to have a title that applies to more than one thing. It's kind of like the theme of the episode.
Right.
But yeah, I assumed it's, to me, I always picture it having to do with Nog. But I don't know.
And it could apply to Odo too, because he's really breaking down some walls as well. So,
or Kira, because her heart got turned into stone, basically.
Yeah, or the founder, who was actually really stone cold in her, her whole purpose, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, could be many things.
All right, friends. Well, we're just about out of time. We will stay tuned for the free-for-all. Also, a quick shout-out to Yvette Blackmon, Rex A. Wood, Dennis Koch, Homer Frizzell, Eve England, Marie Segal, Carmen Shamwell, PJ Thomas, TJ, Jackson-Bey, Bill Victor Arucan, Titus Mohler, and Tim Baum. And we will see you on the other side on the free-for-all. Hey everybody, and welcome back to the 7th Rule with Cirroc Lofton and
hello.
Malissa Longo.
Hi.
We are joined by Mr. Tim Baum, TJ Jackson-Bey, Dr. Marie Segal, Commander Homer Frizzell, and Bill Victor Arucan. Awesome guy, one of my favorite humans. So we just reviewed Heart of Stone. Anne-Marie, you had something to say real quick?
Oh. To all the viewers, make sure you go back and watch the Robert Hewitt Wolf Captain Nog Forever CNF special episode, because he actually talks a lot about writing, especially this episode, and especially the scene where Nog decides he wants to join Starfleet. And it's really amazing and in-depth. So don't miss it.
Lots of really good background on that thing. By the way, he's on vacation right now. Otherwise, we would have begged him to join this episode, but he's enjoying a well-deserved vacation at the moment. Shout out to him.
Good.
So what we were talking about, or a little bit at the beginning of this review, was that this was like such a huge turn for Nog. Right? Like he was a certain character for 2.5 seasons, and then he kind of made a right turn and was like, you know what? I don't want to be like my dad. I don't want to be, like all the other Ferengi. I want to be a Starfleet officer. And it got me thinking that might be the biggest sudden change in a character arc in all of Star Trek. So I kind of wanted to go around and see what you guys thought, if there's like another character that, you know, made a big change from season to season or in one episode, or a big character arc. I think we should start with Malissa because she's really thinking hard right now.
No, come back to me because I don't know.
Wasn't that a Janet Jackson song? Anyway, thought it was.
Come back to me.
Okay, thank
Oh,
you, TJ.
yeah.
I was like, am I the only one? Did I imagine 1990?
You were the only one listening that hard.
I don't know why TJ stopped singing. I wanted to hear the rest of it, but
Yeah, no.
That's all you get, man. That's all you get.
all right. Well, we can come back to you, Melissa, if you want. TJ, do you have any thoughts on that?
Right off the top of my head, I think about Kess off of Voyager because she, you know, she's this nice, sweet doctor's assistant and Neelix's girlfriend, and you know, then all of a sudden she decides to leave, and when she comes back, she's like this angry old lady that's walking around blowing stuff up.
She's like an X-Man.
I mean, that wasn't a right turn; that was a sharp left turn.
You're right. She's like one of the X-Men. She was like turned into Phoenix or something.
Yeah,
it's a really good one. Anne-Marie, I'm sure you've got a good one for us too.
Well, I'm gonna go with the obvious one and just say I think Rom also, like, especially this episode, he like flips on I wouldn't say a dime because you start seeing like some softer sides to him, but he, with Nog deciding he wants to join Starfleet, Rom totally reveals himself to be an amazing father. So that's my guess.
Two amazings.
Yeah.
Homer?
So I'm going to stay away from an obvious one, and I'm going to go with more obscure. So, and it's not necessarily that it was their decision, it just happened. So Sulu starts off as the astro scientist, I think, and then he becomes the botanist, or might be vice versa, and then he ends up at the helm.
Right.
That's shocking to see him doing botany.
Yeah. And
Not
this
as
is
a
all in
hobby.
the first 3 episodes.
Yeah.
So you got the cage, the man trap, and where no man has gone before.
The
I think it
botany
is.
trap.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So he had some big career changes, and he turned out okay. I think he made the right choices, or the writers did.
Bill, do you have any thoughts on this? First of all, do you remember this episode that we just reviewed?
I kind of do, but the character that I had in mind was Cirroc when you became the writer or journalist. I'm like, oh, that is totally off that Starfleet path. And it's like, well, what would your dad actually say? You're going to be a writer.
Right.
A journalist.
Don't write about any of our conversations.
but he totally did.
And Cirroc, do you remember what Mr. Wolf was saying about kind of what was the decision behind that?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting because I didn't know this before. And he was talking about him and his own experience growing up with his father in the military. And he was the kind of army brat kid that had to move a lot and go from one school to another and pick up and leave. So I didn't realize that he was writing a lot for Jake, and a lot of what Jake decided to go in the direction he went, which is against Starfleet, was based on his own life experience. So that was something that we learned by interviewing him about that.
Anne-Marie's like, you just totally
Yeah, it was
spoiled
amazing.
the thing that I tried to get people to go watch.
Still amazing to go watch it. He's
No, you still have to go and watch it.
information.
Yeah, that's
Oh yeah, because he gives away a lot of
Yeah,
gems
that's just the overview. You still need to go and watch it and get the real story, the full story.
Totally. Mr. Tim Baum, what do you think?
You know, I agree that Nog was one of the I guess subtler changes over the seasons. If you watch from the first episode, Rom, in the very first 2 episodes, is a completely different character than he was in the rest of the season.
Totally, yeah.
And but I always liked the transition of Bashir because he was a whiny little brat. And then he matured to become a whiny, mature brat, but he kind of grew up on the show. So I'd like to see that. And towards the end, and his friendship with Garrick, because that blossomed.
But he had con blood.
Yeah. Well, Melissa, did we buy you enough time?
No, because there's no.
Hey, tell us who from Enterprise is your choice, Ryan.
Hoshi.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. But I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to.
No, I wasn't going to guess Hoshi, but I figured it's always someone from Enterprise.
Wait, is Hoshi always the answer?
Usually.
It seems like it. It seems like lately I'm just saying Hoshi and Travis for everything. But no, they actually got the opposite treatment. They didn't get any love as far as character arc in my eyes. I mean, I'd have to rewatch it all to really soak it in a second time, but it feels like their character arc was a character straight line for the most part, as far as I remember at least.
There's no one from Enterprise?
I don't think they had enough time. 4 seasons was not enough for Enterprise. There was so much left to tell.
And they really only started kind of picking it up in the 3rd and 4th season.
Right. Season 4 was stellar. I cannot believe they did not renew that. Even after they made a decision, they could look back and said, wow, that was kind of awesome. Let's try this again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's crazy because at that time, I remember when they canceled Enterprise and people were talking about that. And it seemed like at that time, CBS was like dumping everything Star Trek related. I think they were selling the sets, and they literally wanted to just clear out the inventory and almost just walk away from the franchise altogether. So that was a kind of a crazy time where I felt like they wanted to abandon Star Trek and just say, okay, we're done with it. We don't even want to have the old sets anymore, and we don't want to renew any of the movies or any of the TV shows. And they seem to have taken a complete 360 or 180 on that. And
there's
now
a character turn.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what? Yeah, that's true. Okay, I got my character that's changed the most. Spock. Because in the first episode, he's smiling and laughing, and then he becomes stoic. And then in the 2009 movie, he's some totally different kind of guy. And then he ends up getting a brother that nobody heard of. And then now in Discovery, he has a sister that nobody ever heard of. And then it turns out that he makes mocha lattes for people as hipster Spock in Discovery.
No, he does like pour overs and cold brews.
He just keeps getting rebooted, that guy. So that's who I'm sticking with.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a character arc, but I feel like the legend of Spock is multifaceted.
Yeah, constantly shifting.
Sometimes he's giant.
I mean, I think the obvious one is just Nog. I mean,
yeah.
He's the only person actually breaking the stereotypes of an entire species, of an entire alien race, right? So he's setting a trend that other Ferengi may one day say, I want to be like Nog when I grow up. Mm-hmm. So I think that's pretty significant. The other person I thought who was also in this very episode, A Heart of Stone, is Odo. Because I feel like Odo started off as this emotionless thing. I thought emotions was the thing that made him different than everybody. He just didn't have the emotions that people. He wasn't attached, didn't care. He doesn't eat. He doesn't laugh. He doesn't, And then we start to see him kind of fall in love in this episode, or reveal that he's in love and that he has these feelings and emotions, and he finally feels respected as a person. At first he was nothing, and now he feels like he's somebody and has an identity. So I feel like he's changing as well, and it's pretty significant.
Hey, go ahead, Melissa.
No, I was going to say, as far as characters taking charge of their own lives and actively making the choice to change, Nog is the only one I can think of who made an active choice to change his life, to choose the path that he went on. Everyone else has an arc. They change, but it's not an active choice to change. So, and I think Nog is unique in that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Aaron did a great job on transmitting the emotion when he yelled at Sisko, because I don't want to be like my father.
Yeah.
And you could tell that when you're saying that, it's kind of breaking your father's heart, even though he wasn't there. You don't want to admit that you don't want to be what, because your father's supposed to be your hero. But just in that one, the way he said it was just perfect.
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah, that's this moment
That
here.
entire scene.
Yeah.
That entire scene was so powerful and so much emotion from both sides, from Avery too, because I can't imagine, Avery, the character that he is, having to say these things like, no, because you're a Ferengi, and we got this stereotype about Ferengis, and it doesn't fit with Starfleet. And then just the passion from Aaron was oh my God, it makes me wish that I knew the actor that performed that as well as you guys do, because there is so much passion and so much heart in that performance that it just tells you the guy has a lot of soul. And I say has, he still has it. And I appreciate getting to know him through you guys. But that performance, top notch. It's one of the best performances ever in the world of all TV and movies. That scene.
Yeah.
And it's hidden in this episode.
There's a few moments like that.
There,
there's a few moments. And there was another line that he says with Sisko. Sisko is telling him that he's not an ideal candidate to be a Starfleet officer. He tells him, you've gotten in trouble, you've done this, you've been locked up by Odo a few times. And I thought, Aaron Nog gave a great answer. He says, yeah, I made some mistakes. I admit that. And like he took ownership for the bad stuff that he's done. Like he says, I admit that, but give me a chance. I can do better. And like those words kind of resonated with me too, because you rarely hear that from people, especially in leadership positions, where they admit mistakes but ask for a chance to do better. And I think that's one thing that resonated with me when I watched it. I said, wow, this guy's he's saying, yeah, I'm a mess up, I screwed up, I wasn't the best guy ever, but if you give me a chance, I'll prove that I'm a better person, or I can be a better person. I think that's just another remarkable thing. And also the parallel between Aaron the actor and Nog the character. Aaron the actor is also having to overcome stereotypes and conditions that are placed upon him because they feel like he's limited. And so he's telling his own story through Nog's story in some way to me as well.
Yeah. And Aaron would have agreed. He saw a lot of parallels between himself and Nog. And how so many people would underestimate him and what he was capable of, and he just wanted a chance to prove what he was capable, and he had a lot to give. Yeah,
agreed.
I mean, he
So
played the perfect Ferengi child, and we got to see him like really grow up into like the Federation officer. Like, wow, that's pretty amazing to have like knowing that person from the beginning when he was just a Ferengi kid to the Federation officer was kind of cool.
Definitely. So before we go, guys, the big announcement of the week is Lower Decks will be coming in just a few days. So here's a quick question on our way out. We've got Lower Decks Season 1 starting in a few days. We've got Star Trek Discovery Season 3 starting the week after Lower Decks ends. So it'll be 23 weeks in a row of Star Trek, new Star Trek. And we've also got Picard Season 2 coming someday. What are you most looking forward to out of those three? There's also going to be Strange New World supposedly next fall, but that might be tough to do because we don't know when they're even going to start shooting. And Marie, what are you most looking forward to out of those three?
Make me choose. I'm gonna say Lower Decks because I'm so excited for like the deep cut jokes.
The new animated series.
Yeah,
Mike McMahon.
I'm really excited.
What about you, TJ?
Me, all of it, because I love all Star Trek. But I'm looking forward to Discovery Season 3 because, I mean, we're invested in 2 seasons of this and watching those characters grow. I'm also looking forward to Strange New Worlds because I absolutely fell in love with Captain Pike in Season 2 of Discovery. And so I'm anxious to explore that character as well.
Homer?
I am looking forward to all of it, but most especially Lower Decks. It's brand new, and it'll be interesting to see how apeshit some of the fans go, or not fans of this particular show, go over it.
Nice.
Excuse the language. Hashtag.
I think they might be using that language on this show.
Is this what Star Trek has come to?
Yeah.
Exactly. There's gonna be all of that.
Yeah.
It's like the Family Guy almost.
Yeah.
I think it's
Rick and
gonna
Morty,
be
really, yeah.
it's gonna be more than we've seen so far, I think.
Let it rip. Let's bring it.
I say bring it on. Yeah.
Bring it on.
Bill, what do you think out of those three?
There's so many to pick from now. I'm gonna definitely start off with Lower Decks, but I got to see what's going to happen with Discovery and Picard. There's so much going on.
Totally. Yeah,
Wait,
Discovery's in the future now, even in the far future.
Sonequa Martin Green, like her fashion is getting so iconic for Season 3 in the trailers, so I'm super excited for that too.
Nice.
I got a weak spot for braids, so I can't wait for that.
Looks amazing. Like, super
I'm telling you, it's my
stylish
kryptonite. You send somebody at me with braids, and I'll never say no.
Write that down, Ryan.
Just
I already
putting that
did.
out there.
I already
Putting
did.
that out there.
Cirroc already made a doodle of it. What about you, Tim?
I'd have to say Lower Decks and Picard. The first season of Picard, I ended up binging it. Me and my wife did all one Sunday.
Ooh.
So yeah, we didn't mean to do it all, but what the heck? We've only got 2 more left.
I mean,
so go on.
Pop, you can't stop.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to the season 2 because I really enjoyed it. And Lower Deck, I don't have any idea what to expect, so that's actually going to be good.
That's the fun part. That's the fun part.
Going in blind. What about you, Melissa?
I don't know if I have one that I'm most excited to see. I'm curious about Lower Decks, definitely. I have a lot of curiosity. I'm curious to see what they're going to do in Season 3 of Discovery. And curious about Picard. So a lot of curiosity.
D, all of the above.
One outweighs the other at this moment.
Cirroc, is your curiosity piqued more for one than any of the others?
Yeah, for me, on the top of my list is going to be Discovery Season 3. I want to know where they're going to take that. And, I feel like they're going to finally get to a place where we want to see a lot of the show, which is in the future, more in the future. And then the other aspect that I'm kind of curious about, like Melissa, is the comedy aspect of Lower Decks. And is the comedy going to play well? Is it going to be, am I going to laugh? Am I going to think it's funny and enjoy it? Or am I going to say this is, kind of too far away from the serious topic and issues that Star Trek likes to tackle? So I don't know. I'm up in the air. I don't know if I'm going to like it or not, and hopefully I will. But I'm actually concerned about it being a little bit different than what we're used to. So we'll see how that turns out.
Yeah. I'm actually most looking forward to Lower Decks, which I have been for a while, just because it's something new, but in a more palatable way. Because a lot of times if they say like, oh, it's new Star Trek, but then it's like not quite the way you remember Star Trek, like it's kind of a little off, then it takes a while to get used to it. It's a little jarring. But if they say it's completely different, it's a half-hour comedy, animated, piss and fart jokes, then you're basically, you could just throw everything out the door and be like, all right, I'll give it a shot. Let's see what happens. Okay, it's like the slate's wiped clean. Plus, I think it's going to be good for the casual fans and the super devoted fans, because the casual fans going to be like, oh, cool, piss and fart jokes, and
If
spaceship.
you like piss and fart jokes.
And who doesn't?
Yeah.
They get a little tedious after a while. It's just like, okay, another one.
Yeah, I thought the animation of the ship looked really cool in the trailer too. I thought that looked really cool. But I think that for the people like Anne Marie and Homer and all you guys that have seen every episode 1,000 times, it's going to be cool that they're going to have a lot of these deep cuts. They're going to have a lot of these characters or alien races that we've only seen once or only heard mentioned once, and they're going to come back and we're going to see them a second time.
Ryan, are we going to hold Lower Decks to the standard of canon that we hold all the other franchises?
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're ready for it.
In fact, I think that's going to be their bread and butters. They're embracing canon. They're saying, remember that character that was in season 3 of Next Generation?
Yeah.
Well, here he is.
Yeah.
They're really going to reference a lot of things, and a lot of the actors that were in 80s and 90s and 2000 Star Trek can reprise their roles because there's no aging in animation. They're just doing the voiceover. So there's going to be, I'm sure there are going to be some cameos of characters and aliens and cool stuff. The story is
the Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, the story is that they do second contact. Like Next Generation or others, they would do first contact. So now these guys come in and they do second contact. They go, okay, Kirk came and humped all the women, but now let's clean up. Let's see if So I think it's a fun idea.
The dirty job. Somebody's got to do it.
Also, at San Diego Comic-Con last year, when they initially were doing their panel, they mentioned even having Odo references, which from that second on, I was like, okay, they've watched a lot of Star Trek. And I love anything with an Odo reference, so hopefully that does show up.
Odo and Nog references.
Odo Ital.
Fingers crossed.
Yes.
They can do it. Yeah. Odo Ital, that's right.
That's beautiful.
I'm holding on to that for a trivia contest one day.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. I always put that whenever the answer's put the full name of the character, and they give you pictures.
All right, guys. Well, we better go here. None of you are in California, but stay safe out there. And thanks for joining us, Bill, for the first time. Welcome. We loved having you.
Welcome, Bill.
Yes.
Thank you, guys. Awesome. Thanks.
Arucan.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks very much. And as always, remember the 7th rule.